Lamplight Audiobooks presents A Sister's Struggle by Mary Gibson, narrated by Anne Dover. Chapter 1. Hunger. Winter 1930. Ruby was hungry, and Dad hadn't come home again. Her brothers, 10-year-old Eric and little Davy, sat at the kitchen table, staring at her. They were hungry too, but she had nothing to give them. She went outside to the food safe, but no miracle of loaves and fishes had occurred, and it was still as empty as the last time she'd checked. There wasn't a scrap of food in the house, nor a penny to buy any, and at 12 years old, she was still 2 years short of being able to earn one. She came back into the kitchen, and Davy began to whimper. She picked him up.
Shh! I know you're hungry, love. Just wait a minute and Ruby'll find you something to eat.
She handed Davy to Eric, who hoisted him over his leg and began to violently toss him up and down while singing Ride a Cock Horse to Banbury Cross, while she crept downstairs to Aunt Nancy's. She wasn't a real aunt, just the neighbour who lived in the lower half of the house, who looked after them when her father, Dodge, wasn't home, which was increasingly often. She gave a hesitant knock on the basement kitchen door.
"Excuse me, Aunt Nancy," she asked, when the woman opened the door. "Can you spare a bit of bread and milk for our Davy?"
The woman's bright smile faded.
"Oh, love, has your dad left you with nothing in the cupboard again?"
She shook her head. Nancy had 6 children of her own, and a bull of a husband who was a casual on the docks but hadn't been called on for weeks.
"You know, I'd have you in here for tea with my lot if I could, love, but I've got nothing but bread and drip to feed me own tonight, and your dad ain't been near nor by."
Aunt Nancy's gaze slid away from Ruby, who knew what that meant. Dodge hadn't paid the woman for looking after them this week, perhaps longer. Often when Dodge missed a payment, Aunt Nancy would feed the Scully children from her own cupboard.
"Oh, that's all right, Aunt Nancy. We've got bread and drip in ourselves," she lied, and Aunt Nancy put a hand to her cheek.
"Hang on a minute." The woman hurried into her kitchen, and Ruby heard her husband's loud voice.
"What you doing feeding his kids when we've got nothing for our own, you silly mare?"
She couldn't hear Aunt Nancy's muffled response, but the woman returned with a slice of bread and dripping.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?